Welcome to Leadership in the Line of Fire with your host, Brad Hauck. Join Brad as he dives into the heat of leadership challenges, where the flames of business uncertainty meet the hard-earned lessons of firefighting. Embrace change, master agility, and become the trusted leader guiding your team through the smoke. Get ready to ignite your leadership journey.
Who helped shape the leader that you are today? Not the person who gave you the title, but the person who took the time to explain why decisions were made, trusted you before you fully trusted yourself, and stayed close enough to catch you when things went wrong. On the fireground, mentoring rarely happens in a classroom situation. It happens beside a truck, during a debrief, over a map, or while someone more experienced is there, you watch them make a difficult call. Today, I want to look at what real mentoring involves, why future leaders need responsibility before they feel ready, and why your greatest leadership legacy may be the people who are eventually becoming better than you. By the way, if you want to go deeper into these fireground leadership lessons, grab a copy of my book, Run Towards the Flames, at Amazon.com. It's packed with stories and strategies from over 20 years fighting fires in the Australian bush and leading successful marketing business. Mentoring is more than giving advice. A mentor doesn't just simply tell someone what to do. They help them understand how to think, assess, look at different risks, and make their own decisions. And on the fireground, an experienced officer will explain why a decision was made, not just issue the instruction. In my life, I've had a lot of mentors along the way. The first one in my business that I had was a guy named Peter. He was a fantastic mentor. He helped me at a time when I had no idea what I was doing, growing a search engine optimization business. Now, he'd never grown one, but he was a business consultant, worked with many big businesses, and his expertise was profound, and he taught me some really valuable lessons. But he let me go on my own. He let me make my own mistakes, and then when I got stuck, I'd go back to him and kind of say, help. And I learned so much, and it enabled me to build a $1 million business just through the pointers he gave me. And I've been able to pass those on to other people who work in the digital marketing industry or run agencies, for example, my daughter. And it's enabled them to become great business people too. So having a powerful mentor can really shape your future. And you can have different mentors for different things in your life. For example, you might have a business mentor. You might have a mentor within firefighting, in my case, or you might have mentors in sport, not just coaches, but mentors who sit above a coach or next to a coach to work with you. Mentors can come in many different forms, and sometimes it's a case of just someone who you watch who's more senior than you, and you decide that you like how this person works, so you watch how they do things and you learn from them. It's not always a formal arrangement where someone says, I'll be your mentor. It's not like the old Kung Fu movies where there's a master and a student. It's not like that at all. More often than not, people take on mentors without that person realizing they're a mentor. And that is actually a huge responsibility. As a leader, people can be watching you at all times from a mentoring perspective. They're watching how you do things and how you apply them. And as you go through being a leader, remember that eyes are always on you. So it's really important that you think about that. What am I putting forward that might be mentoring someone that I am around unknowingly? Eventually, as a leader, you'll reach a level where it seems like you actually don't have any more mentors. Number one, you might be older and there's only younger people. That's not totally true, but there is always people you can look to for inspiration, for learning. And sometimes it is younger people because they lead the way in a different way to how you were brought up. You might be an entirely different generation. I know I'm Gen X, which makes me quite old now, but I can look to Gen Z for leadership in certain areas and I can take that on board. But eventually you'll reach a point where you look around and you think, wow, I'd really like a mentor. I'd really like someone to help me. And there won't be anyone. Now, it doesn't mean no one's available. It's just the people you're looking at, you may have surpassed them yourself. Look wider afield. Sometimes mentors need to be found in different areas of your life to apply them where you are. So while I might be looking for a mentor in the fire service, maybe I need someone who's outside of the fire service to mentor me because they're going to look at things from a different perspective. So You'll never reach a point where there's no one who can mentor you. You just need to look around. Find people who you can trust to talk to. And this is the hardest thing. Sometimes it's just having someone to bounce ideas off that has more experience than you, who can give you feedback. For example, this podcast is my way of mentoring people like yourself to try and help you become a better leader. Not everything I say is going to apply to you. And some things you're going to think, well, he's an idiot. But that's fine, because that's the whole point of being mentored. You won't always agree with people who are mentoring you, but you will see a different perspective. And sometimes that's what you need. You need to look at it and go, well, that's a good point. It doesn't apply in my case, but I'm going to store that for later. Or that's a good point. I'd never thought of looking at it that way. So I hope this podcast is helpful to you, and it does help you grow and give you a little bit of mentoring. When you're a mentor, you need to give people responsibility before they feel completely ready. Future leaders need controlled opportunities to lead. Let them run a training night, brief a crew, or part manage a project while you remain close enough to step in. You can't build confident leaders by protecting them from every difficult situation. Okay? People need the chance to fail. It's really important. Now, sometimes you can save them before they hit rock bottom, or you can just give them a gentle nudge that gets them out of that trouble. You need to give people a chance to lead early. So in the fire service, we let people lead crews early, but not on the fire ground. We let them do that on training nights, and we have someone work with them who's there for their safety. They're not there to tell them what to do. They're there to watch them, make sure that their instructions are safe. And if they get stuck, just give them a gentle prod to point them in the right direction. Small jobs build confidence and competence and experience. So by giving people small jobs to do, they build on their knowledge and they get their confidence to try bigger jobs. It's not easy to give someone a whole project. That's dangerous because they don't understand all the structure, but you can give them part of the project. And if you break down project into smaller chunks, you can give multiple people chances to lead parts of a project while having someone sit over the top of them to actually oversees the whole project, but they're responsible for that bit. What I would say is you need to set realistic timeframes and deadlines. When you start leading, you lose track of time because you're focusing on trying to tell people what to do and see what's happening and fix this mistake and, oh, what happens when they do that, or that's happened. They're all focused on what's going on and they lose track of time. So having deadlines and timelines are really important to keep people on track. And it's easy to remind them of that too. When I set projects, I always like to set deadlines, whether it's for myself or for someone else, because at least it keeps my brain focused on where I need to be and when I need to be there. Expect your people to succeed, not fail. This is really important. More often than not, people set up situations for leadership and they say, okay, you can run the crew or you can take charge of this project, but they don't expect people to win. And I think that's a huge mistake, because when you set people up to win, then they do. People will step up into your expectations. So I expect my people to actually do well. And 99 times out of 100, they do. Because they've learned, because they've got someone beside them to help them. So don't expect them to fail. Don't expect the worst outcome. That's dangerous and it's negative and it doesn't help the situation. When you mentor people, you want them to win. It is really important that you want that for them, because it will be conveyed in how you put your message across, how you give them feedback, how you give them a prod in the right direction. You want them to succeed. Keep that in mind at all times. Let people learn from your mistakes. Many leaders only share their successes because they want to appear like they're really clever. Good mentors explain the calls they get wrong, what they missed, and what they would do differently. Your mistakes may save the next leader years of unnecessary pain. Tell them stories of what went on. Stories are extremely powerful. I like to tell stories because it gets a picture in people's minds rather than just saying something straight. Telling the story gets them, their brain turning, gets them thinking, gets them involved in what's going on. And sometimes it might be that we're driving to a fire and it'll be like, oh, we had a fire here before. It was me and Steve and Glenn, and we turned up and this was happening and the wind was coming from this direction. What happened was it blew over here. And so in their head, they're starting to picture this fireground before they even get there. So they get some ideas of what might happen, what to think about, what safety things to think about. And it really makes a difference to them as a crew leader because they understand what they might be walking into. Stories are the most powerful way to teach people things. I also like to use stories to explain why you do things the way you do it. If you can say, we don't do this, but if you say we don't do this because at this time, this thing happened, so we changed what we did because this is a better way of doing it or a safer way of doing it or a more effective way of doing it. Those stories stick because it's better than just saying no. Okay, people always need reasons. They won't always ask, but it's just the way the human brain ticks. Things are better when they have a story and a reason to go with them. I like to tell stories sometimes about how someone taught me to do something. For example, putting out huge logs that are on fire. A lot of people will tell you can't put out a burning log. It's really hard. You've got to use lots of water. And the truth is that's not true. It's actually quite easy to put out big burning logs if you use the steam to put it out. So I was taught that by my first officer. He trained me in how to do that. And so you use the steam, you give it a spray, you let the steam get into all the cracks, and then you give it another spray. So rather than drowning it, which doesn't put the log out, using the steam works. And I've demonstrated this on logs that are taller than I am, and I'm 6'4". We were able to walk inside some of these logs and put them out. So it is demonstratable. It is a good story. And you're leveraging someone else's credibility to mentor the people you're working with. So great stories of someone else teaching you even has more power because you're taking their credibility to help you seem smarter, which is sometimes a good thing. Stories carry more weight than anything else and people remember them. So use them where you can. And this is why honest debriefing when you get back from a fire is important as well. You're looking at what went well, what didn't go so well, and what we could do better. You're telling these little stories and they're discussing how to do them. So people learn from the mistakes. If you make a mistake on a project, then tell them you made a mistake and this is what I did to fix it, or this is what someone else did to fix it in some cases. Debriefing is an important part of the process and it helps you be more realistic and come across as a human to the people you're mentoring or working with. Mentor the person in front of you, not a copy of yourself. The goal is not to create someone who leads exactly like you do. Different personalities, different strengths and experience can produce equally effective leaders, but not clones of you. A quiet, thoughtful leader may handle a crew differently from a loud, decisive one, but still achieve the same goal and have the same happy crew at the end of the day. People aren't you. They don't think, act, or have the same experiences in life as you have. So they can't be you, no matter how much they might say they want to be more like you. Yes, they do need to be maybe some elements of you, but they need to be themselves. They're going to make their own mark in the world. They are unique. But what you give them when you're mentoring them is the different perspective that then they can apply within their own lens, if you like to look at it that way. Sometimes we talk about the frame. The situation is framed a certain way, depending on what's going on. Your frame, when it happened to you, is different to their frame. But the point is, you want them to be themselves as a leader, not a clone of yourself. They have to make their own decisions and they have to make their own mistakes. Yes, you're there to help them, to pick them up, to give them direction and kick them in the pants sometimes if necessary. But they need to learn, and the only way to learn is actually to do those things themselves. Everybody wants to create clones. I know. I would love to think that everybody was a clone like me because I would know what they were going to do. I don't want everybody to be a clone of me, okay? The world doesn't need more of me. It really doesn't. I'm not the best person in the world. I'm not the best leader in the world. What it needs is more great leaders who can think for themselves and apply the skills they've learned. And as a mentor, it's really important you understand that you're not trying to clone yourself. You're trying to create them. You're trying to improve them, but they have to do it themselves, okay? The world needs their point of view because it builds on you and does it better, hopefully. A mentor knows when to step back. Mentoring eventually requires you to stop providing every answer. Ask questions, allow the person to make the call, and support them in the outcome that they get. The real test of mentor is whether the person you're working with can lead confidently when you're no longer standing beside them. It's really important. One day, you're not going to be there, and these people need to be able to lead on their own. And that's a proud day when that happens. Eventually, people will pass you. They're younger, you're shortcutting their learning, you're helping them move forward faster than you did probably. You must accept this and celebrate their achievements. Feel good about yourself and how you've helped them. Don't get upset because they passed you. If you're doing your job as a mentor, then they probably will pass you. That's natural. That's what happens in life. We all fall away in the end. We get old. We can no longer do things. We need people to surpass us. Because if they don't, the things that we've created, the things that we believe in, just won't carry on. Let them go. Keep in touch and sing their praises when you're talking to other people. Just because someone surpassed you doesn't mean you shouldn't keep praising them. You want to support them. One of the ways you can support them is actually to tell other people how good they are. But start to look for the next person you can help. Okay? They'll always need your help and they'll come to you from time to time. That's fine. And they'll always refer to you probably as their mentor, as one of their mentors in life. But there's other people who need help now. They're ready to move on and you need to too. It's time to take your experience in mentoring, what you've learned from that experience, and apply it with someone new. That's your legacy. That's what you leave behind. And that's how you make a difference in this world, is by creating these leaders, mentoring them, and then letting them go out into the world and continue to change the world in a positive way. Enjoy that. That's a powerful moment. It's not easy to do. Being a coach, for example, of a sporting person, watching them succeed when you're standing by the side of the pool or side of the track is hard. I mean, you want them to succeed, but you probably also like to be succeeding yourself. You don't get the gold medal. You don't see the coach ever going up on a podium to get a gold medal. The swimmer always does, or the runner does, whatever sport we're talking about. It's the same with mentoring. You'll never get the gold medal, but that's not what it's all about. So who are you preparing to lead without you? Are you giving them real responsibility or only safe tasks that never test them? Are you sharing the mistakes behind your experience or only the polished stories that make you look successful? Can you allow someone to lead differently from you, make their own decisions and develop a style which may not always agree with the way you do things? And when they eventually move ahead of you, will you feel threatened? Or will you recognize that their success is evidence that your mentoring worked? Mentoring isn't all about creating followers or clones of yourself. It's about shortening someone else's learning curve, giving them room to grow, and helping them to become capable enough to lead when you're no longer there. Choose one person this week who has leadership potential. Give them a real opportunity, explain the thinking behind the task, and then step back far enough for them to own it. Your leadership may be measured by what you achieve, but your legacy will be measured by who continues the work after you've moved on. Until next time, like, subscribe, and run towards the flames.
Thank you for tuning in to Leadership in the Line of Fire. If today's episode sparked some insights, please share it with your friends and colleagues. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your support fuels this journey. Join us next time as we continue to explore leadership lessons from the fire line. Until then, keep leading with courage and agility.